And we are live. Sorry, I was by
Yeah.
myself in the studio.
Sorry. I was trying to get myself situated, but the lighting in my house is not the best.
No, I was like, if I sit at my desk where I'm going to be comfortable, it's really, really bright and everything washes out. So I'm like, I need to
Yeah.
sit on the floor, which means I need to take all the books that I'm getting rid of off the coffee table that I used to take pictures on so I can put the laptop on it.
I
And now I'm
see.
just surrounded by stacks of books.
That's me too. Look, like, wait. Just stacks.
Literally, like, I've got stacks on that side and stacks on that side.
Well, wouldn't be right if we weren't surrounded. Oh my god. Oh god, hold on. This tripod is testing me. I swear.
Mine keeps
Right.
taking over by itself when I use it, which is why I'm like, I'll use the laptop because nobody wants to come flying at my face.
That's very true. That's very true. Oh, I just got the notification that we're live.
I was going to say, I've just got the notification and the email.
So, we didn't get, well, I didn't get any questions.
I
In the
didn't get any
way.
questions, although some random person did ask me what tabs I use when I'm tabbing. I just get these sets off Amazon because they're
Yeah, that's
pretty.
the ones. Yeah, they're
You
quite
get
cheap as
like
well. You get quite a lot.
you get like 8 sets of them for about £4. So I don't tab very often, so they last me ages. I keep
I
pulling the
don't.
wrong side of my shirt.
Oh, because it's backwards.
Everything's
I'm like that
backwards.
too. I'm
That's
like,
like
wait, where's
I
my?
keep pulling it down. I'm like, no, that's not the one I want. I want this one,
Yeah.
which is ridiculous. Right, who is going first?
Um. As well, I actually put up some makeup today because I was looking at myself on the last one, and I was like, I look rough. So I put a little bit on, not too much, but just
My
to feel
head
I
is
look
hurting,
more.
and I'm like,
Yeah, you
I'm not.
said no.
I can hide behind my
You
glasses. It's
still
fine.
look beautiful, so it's fine.
Hmm. Dave says I look like Velma
You
from
kind
Scoop.
of do. If you had like a proper like fringe, you would
Yeah.
actually look like Velma. If you go first, as it is your channel.
Da, 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 da. I don't know what one to pick. I don't know whether to pick one of my actual favourites or one. I have a couple of honourable mentions where I haven't finished the series yet,
I
but I
see, yeah.
might be, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
I grabbed a stack, but this is definitely not all of my favorites. So the ones I have here, obviously, I'll hold up the book, but I probably will mention others. I can't be bothered to go get down, if I'm quite honest. So
There's an accidental theme with mine.
necromancy.
A little bit.
I thought so.
So,
What's your first one? Like, so if you could pick, can you pick like a favorite book or series, or is that too much to ask? Yeah, I would assume so. I
oh,
love
The
Lord of the
Hobbit.
Rings, but it's not my favorite.
I reread The Hobbit every year, but I think that's just because it's the standalone. I think I prefer Lord of the Rings to The
Yeah,
Hobbit, just
I
because
need
it's
to reread them. I
more.
haven't read them since I was like like before the movies came out, so I was quite young, and I just don't feel like I don't remember any of it, and also I just feel like I don't think I properly like appreciated the writing because I was just like, oh, this is like a lot to
Yeah,
get through. So
the
I need
audio
to reread
on
them.
script, if that helps.
Yeah, that's the way I
But
might go because they are quite heavy, aren't they?
I started rereading Fellowship, and I did the first half because this is similar to Theft of Swords. Of it's released in 3 parts, but it's 6 books.
Yeah,
And I'd forgotten how different the books are to the films.
yeah. They well, they cut a lot out. They have to, I guess, because
They cut a lot out, so you kind of get more of what a Hobbit is actually like. Of they're really slow and they take their time, and
yeah.
like
Also,
between
like it just blows my mind because I'm like, The Hobbit is such a small book, and they made 3 movies out of it.
and made
Whereas
bits up
the
in it.
yeah, like it just
I'm mad
they made
about
up stuff about like a romance that didn't need to be in there, like
about
at
people
all.
who weren't even in the book.
Yeah, they made up characters. I'm just like, surely like Lord of the Rings, I would have loved for like proper like you know the extended, but even more so like just keep giving us like more movies. I would have loved it.
I think it's so that they could link them up because I know at the end of The Hobbit Gandalf tells Legolas to go to the north and find someone called Aragorn.
Yeah.
So I think it's so that if you're watching them, they do link up. But I'm still mad about it, even though I like
But you
looking
also
at
don't
all.
need that. You don't need them to link up. Like, I'm like, I know they're related because they're both in the same world. I don't need to, like, you know, especially because, like, you hear stuff in Lord of the Rings about Bilbo going on his journey. So you don't technically, like, you know, it's before. Like, it's, yeah. But I get why it's your favorite. It is one of the classics. Like, when people say, do you like fantasy? Have you read Lord of the Rings? I know some people love fantasy that haven't read Lord of the Rings because it's like, I think people get intimidated by it.
Some people find the writing hard as well.
Yeah, it's very descriptive. I love descriptive writing though, so.
It depends. If it's necessary, yes. If he goes off on tangents for no reason, no. There are audiobooks. They are on Scribd, and they are actually pretty good. The guy tries to sing the actual songs that are in here.
It's quite funny.
So
I always find when you're listening to songs in audiobooks, but you've got it on like faster speed, it sounds
like
so funny. It does sound so funny. Like there's been many times the song started, I'm like, oh my god, this just like I start laughing. And like there's been times where the song's supposed to be quite emotional, and I'm just there like, you sound like a chipmunk. So it's quite funny when you do listen to them that fast.
It does. So yeah, the audiobooks are quite good. It's not one of my favourite narrators, but he is still good. But they don't do one big one for the bind up. It's Fellowship, Two Towers, Return of the King.
You know what would be amazing? Because I know they had Andy Serkis do The Hobbit. They should do either Christopher Lee or Ian McKellen narrates The Lord of the Rings, like the books. That would be so good.
I want them to do like a full cast version and get all of the act. I mean, I know they can't do Saruman anymore because he died.
Yeah.
But I want them to actually get the actual characters to voice their parts. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember like it's obviously Gandalf, his voice is really cool, but like Christopher Lee's voice was just so like I feel like it would have been so epic sounding. I don't know. But I can't really.
I want to say he has
else.
narrated some audiobooks, but I can't think what they are.
I can't think either. But then, like, I love Jared Reynolds, and I think he'd do a good job. But I also didn't realize that Tim had done like Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, really?
He's done a narration for that. And I think I tried because I've never read Alice in Wonderland, and I read the first like is it just it's Through the Looking like Alice in Wonderland and then Through the Looking
Glass is the second one, yeah.
I only did the first one because I didn't like it. And that's coming from someone who likes whimsical writing.
Yeah.
I think it just was irritating.
Like I get the charm. And it's kind of nonsensical, but since I've read Discworld and stuff, which is more along those lines, I want to try rereading Alice in Wonderland to see if I like it more now that I've read more of that kind.
Well, as well, I tried Howl's Moving Castle, and I didn't like that either. But obviously, I have seen the movie. So I don't know if that's...
I haven't seen the movie. I liked Howl's Moving Castle. I didn't like anything else in that series.
No, I mean the thing is, the Should Have Given movie is like it's based on the book, but I wouldn't say like read the book and then watch the movie because it's like watching a live action of the book. It's just like there's inspiration in there, but it's very like its own story, and it's much better in my opinion. But then I love Studio Ghibli. Another question.
Yes, I would say try the audiobook if I'm ever struggling with the writing style. Like, for example, I started For the Wolf and I had issues with the writing style. But I was interested in where the story was going. I'm going to try it on audio and see if that helps, because the writing style that I don't like physically reading, possibly because I speed it up, I'm better on audio with it.
Yeah, it always helps as well. Say like you're trying a book and like you're enjoying it, but you're like, I don't know if the format is working for me. It's always good to either try the audio, or like if you are listening to the audio and you don't like the narrator, then try reading the book, because sometimes it could be the narrator, and you can't really then base your enjoyment on a book on the narrator of a book, like because that's not really, it's not really the author's fault if the narrator doesn't do a great job, No. And I'm not saying like it's such a hard job. I wouldn't even begin to imagine how much time and effort it takes to narrate, especially like massive books that get narrated. I'm like, how long do those take? Because they obviously have to probably do multiple takes, and they have to like, if they mix their words up. I couldn't do it because I always like mix my words up.
I fall off my tongue. I was
All the
watching,
time.
I think Daniel Green did an interview with Kate Redding and Michael Kramer, who do Brandy Sandy
Okay.
and Eye
They're
of the
really
World.
good.
And they're saying that it's a hell of a lot easier because they've been doing it since like the 90s, and it used to be a recording room with all tape machines
Oh
outside.
god.
So if you messed up, they would literally have to cut the tape, do the bit, and like splice it in and reseal the tape and everything.
Oh my
Whereas
god,
you kind of just
that.
go, don't want that bit, and redo it and
Yeah.
just do it all digitally, and they can be in the room at the same time doing their bits.
Yeah.
And
Technology obviously probably helped as well, because I noticed when I listen to audiobooks sometimes I can tell like it's almost like it got recorded and then they were listening through it and was like, oh no, that's a mistake, and then they got them to record it like at a different time, and you can hear like the change and the shift in like the voice, and I'm like, that's obviously like a mistake that had to be re-recorded. So it's quite funny.
You can hear it in the Eye of the World series. I can't remember the name of it. You can hear it because they're the original audiobooks that they recorded in like the 90s. I can see Steph going.
She here.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm back. It took a while. Right, what are we discussing?
We were discussing audiobooks.
Oh, cool.
And audiobooks. So I was just saying to Deborah, the audiobook for this, because I listened to like the first half of Fellowship on the audio, it is really good. And if you struggle with his writing, because it can be a bit
dense,
try the audio. Yeah.
Very fucking dense.
My brother made me read these in 2001 before he would take me to the cinema to watch the first one. So
I think it's great because everyone knows Lord of the Rings and everyone loves Lord of the Rings, but when you read it, there's like obviously bits that you don't know. Like they don't obviously Tom Bombadil isn't really in this like the movies. Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, he's just too powerful, isn't he? Like, you know, and even like trying to explain that on screen, like even a lot of the characters that are in Lord of the Rings on the movies are a lot more powerful in the books because like they're a lot stronger, they're faster, but all these kind of things, and it takes away that element of like tension, doesn't it, from the plot if people are too powerful.
Yeah.
So they dumb it down a bit.
They do, and they've changed bits to kind of make it quicker. Like I noticed when I read that bit of the Fellowship, it's Bilbo's party, and then it's like 3 years before Gandalf comes back for Frodo, and he's like, you need to get out right now. And Frodo's like, yeah, okay, I'll sort everything out, I'll sell my house, and it's like a year before he actually goes and does what he's told, because that's just how they are.
Yeah, because you
they're
think
really
in the movie
chill and relaxed.
Yeah. I never
noticed
it. When I rewatch it, I notice new things, and I love when I get that. But when he leaves the Shire, he actually goes to Minas Tirith. Like you see him at Minas Tirith, so you're like, you know how long that journey takes. But in the movie, it feels like such a short amount of time. Like it doesn't feel like any time has passed. And then I was like, but he traveled all the way to Minas Tirith, which is a long ass bloody way. Like so, then you kind of think to yourself, oh, like you know, it's hard to like in movie time do that because you can't have like 3 years later. Well, you could.
I think
mean, they
the
could
problem
have
with Game of Thrones. You not like feel like it took them ages to get to King's Landing, but in that final season, everything like people were able to travel here and fucking there so quickly, which means like in Game of Thrones, obviously that long traveling to here, there, and everywhere that Daenerys was doing, and that you know like all of them were doing, gave us a sense of like depth to the world, and we're like, oh holy shit, this is a big world. We have to travel for a very long time before she can get here to go there. And like I said, that final season pacing, that pacing just was like, okay, there they are. Like what?
Yeah. So yeah, my generic one that people always say when they say what's your favourite series, Lord of the Rings.
I was going through my shelves. I was trying to think like my actual favorite. I can't pick. I really can't. Like I'm probably gonna say Theft of Swords, just because it was my first kind of adult fantasy that I really like fell in love with, and like what like couldn't then I think it was like my gateway to more adult fantasy
Yeah.
because it is so accessible. Like if you go from lots of YA, which I did, into adult, it was like my first one where I felt like it wasn't like, because I remember reading Lord of the Rings and I remember reading other adult and I was like, they're so heavy, they're so like, I'll just stick with YA because it's easier to read. And then I read 50 Swords. I was like, oh, you can actually get adult fantasies that are just as easy and just as like, you know, gripping. And even though they're very long, I still like every book and every, you know, and when I first read the Raya Revelations, I feel like one of them I gave like quite a down mark to, and I don't know why. Like that's why I want to reread them. I think it was the one where they're on the boat for the most of the, like they're on the ship. Which is like the third book technically.
Yeah.
And I just didn't love that as much, and I don't know why.
A little bit more build there, wasn't there? So there was a little.
Your audio was a little. Your audio
is mine. Is it mine one that shit?
I think so. Yeah.
For God's sake, I don't even know what my fucking headphones are.
It's a little bit crackly.
God damn it. Let's see. Honestly, why is it always me? I swear, life is fucking failed at this one.
You've not even got any kids today.
Let's see if this works.
It might just be your signal as well, because you're quite like jittery in your movie.
Ooh,
You're a little bit pixelated.
Yeah.
Fuck my life. God damn. Honestly, I'm glad that I'm the comic fucking relief always.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't even know where my other headphones are. I've only got these ones. Fuck my life. God damn it. Can you hear me, or is it so weird?
It sounds like you're like, yeah, it just sounds like you're speaking through like a xylophone kind of thing. A little bit.
Interesting. Let's sake. Okay, well, I'm just gonna see if it goes away. And then if not, I'll have to go hunting for those other fucking set headphones. I'd say my favourites are obviously all like out of the Michael books, I most love the Chronicles just because I love the Revelations, but I don't know, there's something just so pure about the Chronicles and the backstory between like all of that. I love it. There's just especially when I was like reading Death of Dolgath and all that, I just remember being so in love with that story. But also I needed to mention this because I love The Shadow of What Was Lost, and I know that Kat, you didn't love the last book all that much, but I still I think as a series I still think it's an absolute fantastic series to get into, and it's definitely like one of those series that I just fell so head over heels in love with when I first picked it up. It was just addictive.
It was. I think the last book was a bit of a disappointment to me, but there was also a really big gap between me reading book 2 and 3, which might have been why it was still a 4. The first 2 were 5 and the third one was 4. But they're not technically on this list because the series as a whole isn't my favourite.
Oh, I still love it. I still think it was great.
Because
but sometimes like you can still have a favourite book even if the rest of the series isn't the greatest. I feel like, because the one I'm going to mention, I haven't even continued, but I know people are complaining about the fact that the third book, I mean, this could give you a clue, the third book's not come out yet.
I know exactly what one you're
going to do. I mean, the fact that, okay, I'll just hold it up.
There we go.
Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I got this is the 10th anniversary edition. Beautiful. So the fact that there's a 10th anniversary edition for the first book, and this year they could make a 10th anniversary edition of the second book. Yeah. That's how long since the last book came out. But I mean, like, I'm not an author, so I don't know what it takes writing a book and all that kind of stuff. And like having the pressure as well from a series that is very popular. The 2 books that are very popular. And I do want to continue. I will read the second one. But a lot of the times people are like, well, I don't want to start it because I can't continue. I will say this is one of the ones that I will say that you could read this first book and not finish it feeling like, oh, now like I need to know what happens next. I need to like have the rest of the series to be like, it's on its own. It kind of stands up as just a really good. It's very character driven because obviously it's telling the story of Kavoth's life. So, and you're hearing it from his perspective. So you also get, you know, a very one-sided perspective because it's his story and he's obviously like, I'm amazing. And like, so you do get a lot of that. Yeah, pretty much. But I still love the writing style is probably one of my favorites that I've ever read, akin to Michael kind of thing. And like, yeah, there's a bit of weird representation when it comes to the ladies, I will say. Like, it's not my favorite, but just in general sense, like the setting and the like just the storytelling, I just love it. And I do want to continue. I will read the second one, but obviously it'd be lovely if we had the announcement of like the third book is coming, you know, this year or next year. Sometime soon would be nice, you know. But I still like
agent, he's not even started it yet. She hasn't
To be
seen a
fair,
thing.
I think it must be really difficult though, because when something like I like to write because I like to write stories, right?
Yeah.
If I knew that someone else was like, I want it to end this, I need this to end a certain way, or it's going to ruin the whole series, or I watch the TV shows and this has happened and I want this to happen, like the pressure would be fucking immense. And I would be like, and how could you possibly not? Like, the thing with being online is that you're not meant to hear what everyone's favorite opinions of what you do is, or what their worst opinions of you is. So having that feedback must be really difficult to try and write your own creative stuff. I think it'd be awful.
I think
still can't hear you.
Abby's looking at me like you didn't hear a fucking word.
I did a bit like a robot.
You go in and out. You're like, I'm like, what? You sound like Wally a little bit. That's what it sounds like. You know, Wally.
I think it depends, because I do agree that there is a lot of pressure. But from what his agent has said, he sold it to the publishers as it was a completed trilogy. He'd already written the whole thing. Oh. He hadn't even finished the first book at that point. And from what I've seen, the second book kind of goes off on a tangent, and I think he must have written himself into a corner. I mean, I didn't like his writing style, so I got about halfway in the first one and gave up. But I think from what I've seen, he's kind of written himself into a corner. But he keeps going and writing other stuff, like he's doing the Rick and Morty comics, and he's done other stuff. And anytime anybody asks him about that series, he's apparently a complete and utter knob to them.
Oh. It must be really difficult, though.
It must be really hard for him, and he's probably fed up because it's such a popular series of people keep asking him.
Yeah, maybe he didn't realize that when he wrote the first book how well received it would have been. So he felt, oh, there's no pressure. I've got plenty of time because no one's going to ask about it. Then like thousands and thousands of people are like, where's the book? Does he have mental health issues as well? Does he have mental health issues there? Like I heard something that he's got like depression. I don't want to speak on, like I'm not 100%.
Everyone has mental health issues. I mean, like, at times in their life, and I think that like you say, such a prolific book. And then having obviously people want it and demand it so frequently, it must be really, really hard for your mental health to have to try and please so many people. Like it's such a hard thing to do because you know you're going to disappoint people inevitably. And I think that's the same with like George R. R. Martin. Obviously, I've read all of the Song of Ice and Fire books, and for me, I'm like, I really hope I do get a conclusion to the story, but at this stage, I can completely understand why he's dragging his feet or why it's so hard for him to get them out, because it must be really difficult.
It must be, because he wants to make it different to the TV show, doesn't he? I saw that he said who ended up on the throne at the end of the TV series isn't going to end up on the throne in the books.
That's weird, because I thought they knew the ending. Like I thought, like when he went into it, that he told them the ending from the start. Like this is how it's going to end.
I think he gave them of what? Sorry.
I was going to say he has characters in the book that aren't actually in this TV show though. That are still towards the end of like the last book that you don't know when they're coming into play. They're there and they're set up, so there's something that's going to happen with them, but they weren't in the TV show. So.
Yeah, they're not. Those characters aren't in the TV show, but I think I've seen articles where he said he gave the TV show a different ending so people would still have to read his book. And I've also seen him say that none of the named perspectives in the book end up on the throne. I'm sat going, well, who does then?
See, I always thought that he said it was going to end the same way.
Unless the Night King wins.
That's almost worse though.
He doesn't have a perspective.
None of the characters that you've actually followed for a whole series is gonna be like.
I want the bad guy to win.
No one ends up on the throne. Then maybe that's what he's trying to say. Like, there's no, because it gets completely destroyed. Maybe by the
the White Walkers win.
Yeah, maybe. Is that what you want, Kat?
I want the bad guy to win in something. And he's kind of necromancy with his woo, and the dead people rise again.
Yeah. What about you, Steph? Have you said a favourite?
The Shadow of What Was Lost, obviously, Michael. Another one of my favourite series is Game of Thrones. I absolutely fucking loved it. I think his writing is so unbelievably immersive. Like, I cannot get over how beautiful. You literally open up a chapter and without even looking at the heading of the name, the person that you're following, it just sets up that characterization that's so bloody well. Like, Cersei, although she is like hated so much because she's such a bitch and whatever, is the most fucking awesome character ever. Like, I love Cersei. I just think she is so
I love
fucking
Joffrey.
Badass.
People judge me so hard when I say I love Joffrey, but he is such an evil.
I want to punch him.
Like, I hate him so much, but he, like, even the actor, he did such a good job. He was so
he did.
And I love that. I love when I can hate a character so much, because I love the characters that I love. Obviously, like, it's nice to love. But when you can get a character, you're like, oh, you're evil and horrible, and I just love that. I love that so much more. Like, it's weird. One of my favorite villains, I've got it here. It's from one of my favorite duologies. I don't know. I've heard that it might be becoming more, like they might do more in the world. But that's the Bells by Danielle Clayson. Again, very descriptive writing. There's a lot. It's very like. There's a lot of descriptions of food and clothes, because it's like it's all about that. That's like the whole world is based on, like, But I thought that the message from the book was very much like, because in this, the Bells can kind of like alter people's appearances, and then when there's like a new trend, it's like up to the Bells then to make all these like really royal rich people have like all the new like trends and have all the new stuff, or like to like try experimenting and making like new, so. But the villain in this is one of the most kind of like clever villains, because she seems so sweet and lovely and like, is really nice at the start, but she turns into such like, I've never hated a villain more. And this is from like a book that the villain's not, I don't think it's even supposed to be a villain that's like the most evil villain ever. Like, the stuff she does isn't like, she doesn't murder a bunch of people, but the stuff she does is so twisted. Like, like, I highly recommend it. Like, the message I was saying is like, oh, Kat's gone. Oh no, she's back.
I'm back.
The message like about
in the other room.
Yeah, but it's a really good. Like, I don't know if this was her message, but this is what I took from it: is that like it's never, when people go down the line of like looks, it's all about the looks. It's all about how you look. It becomes never enough. Like, it's never good enough. Like, there's always trends changing, and always trying to be someone better and look better. And it's just like, I thought the message of like, you can change as much as you want about yourself, but that won't make you a good person. That won't make you, have good morals and all that kind of stuff, because some of the prettiest people in this book are evil and horrible. So I liked the message. And again, like, it's not groundbreaking, and like the story isn't like but for like a YA book, I really enjoyed it. It was really good. I heard really bad things about it. I must be the small selection of people that actually just really enjoyed it. So that's one of my favorites, like, duologies, for sure. That's not like epic adult fantasy.
I'm trying to look at myself now. I'm like, what other ones do I love?
What about you, Kat? Have you got another one? Oh, she just slowly lifted it up.
Just because a couple of people have been asking, this is an older series. This is another one that I read as a teenager, and I think my brother originally bought me the first book, but I destroyed it because I read it that much. I mean, these two are quite battered and bent. And there's necromancy in this. And shock. There's a theme in the books that are around me.
I will say Angel Mage hasn't made me very excited to try other
I didn't like Angel Mage.
It was really not good.
I knew that you didn't like it, so then I was like, oh, it's fine, because Kat likes these other series, and if you didn't like this one, then I like the other one. Yeah.
I did. I really like this. I really like the Seventh Kingdom series. I've got Frog Kisser that I really liked. The Emerald something, I can't see it. I've got Left-Handed Booksellers of London, and I've loved all of them. But this one's still my favorite.
I always give authors a second chance. So I will give, I've got that book, I found it in a charity shop. I will give his like older series a go, because you've praised it so highly as well. I always try to give it all for a second chance. If I don't like one book, I try to like, especially if it's like their first book they ever wrote, I try to read maybe like their latest book to see if there's improvement. And sometimes I give them 2 chances and I'm like, well, no, I didn't like any of that. So
I think it depends, because I always thought this was adult, but it's been picked up by a YA publisher now with the new covers. So I don't know if it's technically adult or YA, but the characters in it are adults. So I'm confused.
That's quite confusing.
But in this world, there's one particular person who is the abortion, and they're responsible for making sure that the dead people stay dead. There are necromancers that obviously raise the dead up. There's magical creatures. There are 9 different levels of hell, and the abortion has like a bandolier of 9 different bells that all make different noises. And basically, when she's learning to become the new abortion, she has to learn about these bells and the different combinations that you ring to send different monsters through, because each level of death does different things. Like there's a river running through it, and the deeper you get into death, the stronger the currents are. So I think it's the 4th or 5th level. You literally go through the gate into it, and a tidal wave starts coming behind you to wash you straight through all the way to the end and stuff. So you've got to run and get to the next gate before the tidal wave gets you and stuff.
That does sound really cool, actually.
It is.
I do like death magic.
I love the dark stuff. Like, and that's another like thing that I love, dark academia as well. Like, love me that.
She is. I think she's quite young in this one. Yeah, she's still learning at the start of this one how to take over from her dad, I want to say. There's a talking magical cat. In the second one, I can never figure out where the camera is. There's a talking magical dog. I did reread the first couple. 2017, 2018, still gave them 5 stars, and I didn't read this one because I know it makes me cry at the end.
Me too.
Yeah, I definitely read it.
And there's a new one coming out as well. I will say as well, while Clariel is technically a prequel, you cannot read it as a prequel because it doesn't explain the magic. And he himself has said it's book 4 in the series. So you need to read that trilogy, and then Clariel, and then Golden Hand, and then the new one that comes out on my birthday in November.
Well, actually, on your birthday?
I think so. Fires of Vengeance came out on my birthday, so did Mort.
Oh.
I haven't read Fires of Vengeance yet.
I didn't like it as much as the first one, but it was still really good.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look. What other books are alive?
Well, for a recent one that I read, that as soon as I read it, I was like, I think Kat will like this. That is The Bone Maker.
Yes, I did.
By Sarah Beth Durst. I started reading it and I was like, well, there's like bone magic, necromancy. I was like, I know you had it. I think you had it before me. And then I had like an e-arc from NetGalley, and I read it and I was like, I think Kat will like this. And what did you give it? What rate did you give it?
4.5, I think.
I gave it 5.
I've read her Queen of Renfield series. Huh?
What?
I'm getting formal.
Oh, you not read this? You need to read it. It's really good.
No, her Queens of Renfield series is really good as well. That's kind of another one a bit like Michael, that's like a bridge between YA and adulty adult.
I read the first one, and I read the first one and I didn't love it. Like, I think it was the characters that I just didn't connect with throughout the whole story. Whereas this, immediately I connected to the characters, especially because like it was quite unique to have like a married couple as like the main characters. Like when you first meet them, they're like an old married
like my
couple.
age.
Yeah, and I was just like, that's so cool, because usually it's like young people, you know, but they're like married, they've been together for years, and then just going along the way and meeting all like the, you know, basically all their friends from like their past. So it's like meeting like the band after they've had all the missions that they've done, like, you know, kind of like meeting the inner circle later down the line when they've all had like all their epic journeys and they're trying to settle down, and then things just start happening again. Very much like Kings of the Wild. Yeah, which is another one I love. I love Kings of the Wild. I haven't read Bloody Rose yet. I really need to.
Up there. I've read Bloody Rose, but he's still writing book 3.
Yeah.
And I read
love
them.
Kings of the Wild. Hilarious.
great. But I get all the music references as well because I grew up listening to that with my dad. So,
that is a really, really good one.
So what I'm gonna try
Will you,
because
Steph?
Abby, because you picked like a YA one, I'm trying to find one that you hear me. Or is my thing going off again?
you're a little bit crackly.
Yeah. I think it's your signal more than anything. I think like you're
Oh, I'm on my Wi-Fi, and my Wi-Fi, well, it's pretty fucking good because I'm paying a fucking bunch for it. So if it's not, phone call will be happening. But, I'm gonna log out and see if I can log back in and see if it happens.
okay.
Deborah, I'm guessing that I missed this and you were talking about Sabriel. But I will be rereading Sabriel potentially this month because the new one comes out in September and I want to refresh. Even though I still remember most of what happens in the books because I've read them that many times. I really like the world.
If you like something, if you've got the time, like I don't have the time for rereads. There's so many books, like pretty much all of these that are on my list. I would love to reread, but
yeah, I've done really good with my TBR. It's down to like 140 on physical, and I just wanted to get it under 100. So I'm at the point where I can start doing rereads again because I read that many. It still goes down.
Mine's like over 200 still. Like I split them all on my Goodreads. I now, if you go to my Goodreads, there's like so many shelves. I've got want to read, which is like my physical, like owned TBR, but then like in a separate category, I've got like my review copy books. So they're like separate, so I can like keep an eye on them. And then I've got my DNF shelf. I've got unowned want to read, so like sequels to books or just like new books that are coming out that are on my radar. And I got like backlist books ones as well. I can't remember if that's the only ones I have, but yeah. So basically, just a lot of shelves to try and keep track of where they are and like
it is. So I don't even think my want to read shelf is up to date, and it does my head in because Goodreads keeps having stuff on there that I have already read, and it's still showing on my want to read. But I don't have that many arcs, but I'm also trying to be really good. And when I do buy stuff, I'm trying to do it. I buy a sequel to something that I've just read, then I can kind of do the series in quick succession.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the books on my shelves are unread, but that's because I get rid of a lot of my read books.
Yeah, that's why there's big gaps like this one here, because I got rid of a load where I'm like, I'm not going to reread it, so I may as well make space because I have limited room. And then Dave went, you can have 2 new bookshelves. Like, thanks.
Yeah. Well, at least yours is supportive. Mine's like, no more bookshelves because you'll fill it. And I'm like, I have no room. I like, if I bought like a little one, I have the books to fill it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need, like, you know, I won't buy tons of extra books to fill the bookshelf. I have the books to fill it. But he's like, no. It's like, you don't need any more. He's like, what if we move and we can't fit them anywhere? And I'm like, I'd make them fit. I'd pick a house that could fit them.
One for you, Abby.
What's that?
That's a lot of upkeep for your Goodreads.
It is, but I feel more structured that way. And like, I do my reading journal, but sometimes I'm, you know, because I make mine look pretty rather than functional most of the time. So my reading journal is very like neglected.
Looking at that.
Yeah, Steph does really pretty journaling.
Oh, that's the thing. I'll go get mine a second and I'll have a look.
I was looking to see what I've written in here. Turns out not a fucking lot, to be honest.
No, you'll have to sneak them in, Kerry. Ooh. Buy mass market paperbacks. They're tiny and you can fit lots. That's what I do.
Back.
I also...
Yeah. Mine's like thick. Look, like, because I put so much...
stick a lot in, don't you?
I stick a lot in.
Also, a little trick, Kerry, since I'm guessing your partner or husband isn't watching, I buy myself stuff off my wish list but get it delivered to the gift address, then it looks like someone's bought it for me and I've not actually bought it.
That is so cute.
Oh no, there's no gift note.
There's been a couple of times I'm like if it's like if it comes in like a non-Amazon package, I'm like, oh, I want a giveaway. That usually works.
There are some bookshops that say that of, do you need us to add a note saying that you won a giveaway?
That's great.
I'm like, yes, you
All the
do.
fucking sneakinesses is out there, yeah.
Yeah, this is my like series tracker. Oh god, I don't know where the camera is.
I know, I never
I know,
know.
I was like,
So I'm trying to like get some series cleared off and stuff.
Very good idea.
But a lot
where
of
is
mine
my
is just. Oh. Yeah, so the way
I
I
don't
keep
know where mine is.
this is what takes me like ages is the way I keep track of a lot of them. I'm a very visual person, so I like print out the book cover.
Oh,
yeah.
I give like the star rating down below.
Now I feel like
I literally just do this. I have like a shelf where I put the books that I've got like as arcs. I don't know if you can see that. Books that I add to the releases that I want to read, and then on the next thing is like a whole spread of books that I add to my shelf. So basically, I have read, and that's pretty basic as I am. Just that's what I do.
Oh, I do have
I
like I got 21 books to read in 2021. I've read 2 from that
I've
list.
DNF'd a lot of mine.
A lot of them are like backlist books that I said that I wanted to like a lot. Well, I say I technically tried to read 3, but I DNF Dry by Neil Shusterman because I just didn't like it.
So I've read 4 and I've DNF'd 3. And the other ones scare me, so I'm not reading them now.
Oh, technically I have read Renegades. So I need to
You
pick my
have?
So I've read 3.
I mean,
And DNF 1.
Steph, are you proud of my title page for this month?
I am so proud of that. That's so pretty.
I did
think
fancy
getting
writing.
lazier and lazier in the title pages.
Yeah.
It started off so well.
These are like my spreads that I do. So this is like my wrap up and then my book of the month that I do.
Oh, I love how you
and then
print
for
off
like
the covers as well.
Yeah, and then like when it
I
comes
would run out
to
of printer ink if I did that.
my
I'm
like
literally just like I just draw
title
'cause I'm
page.
just fucking boring.
Yeah, I have same one. So like my title page always has what my TBRs are. So the ones I track are physical Kindle, NetGalley, how many I have left from 2019 and 2020. And then like my books read, I kind of just list them and then put whether they're like sequel, physical, Kindle, whatever.
Again, mine's just a very like I like it to look pretty. It's not very
That's really
functional.
cool.
I like functional. I try to make it look pretty and fail miserably because I'm not artistic, unlike Steph.
Well, that's why mine's thick like this. Like it's massive.
I love that though. I love it when it's like got loads of things bursting out of it. It's great. I like doing little like where is that? I like doing
fill
little
in.
Dutch doors. Like when you do Dutch
Oh
doors.
yeah,
I love
That's
doing
pretty
Dutch doors. And you do it with calendars as well. I love it. It's just so cute.
Yeah.
but
Love a little Dutch
I
door.
fill mine in as I go. So as I finish a book, I write it in. To be fair, I work from home, so my journal's next to me whenever I finish an audiobook or if I finish a physical or whatever. And then because I know exactly what I want to do, so I have a title page, I have a TBR page, I have a readathon page if I'm doing one, I have my books read, my books hauled, and then my stats page, and that's it. I do the same things every single month, so
That's
it takes me
pretty
like
much
20 minutes to set up.
Yeah, this is like
You
my
like-
what
you've
I
got a
read,
spreadsheet as
but
well.
it just takes a long time. And then like I've not printed some out, so I've kind of written what they are, so that when I
Yeah.
do eventually, because like sometimes I don't want to just print out one tiny little book cover, so I'll let them go, and then I'll have like a whole page
Yeah.
of them. So when I cut it out, I don't feel bad for wasting paper.
And then
But this is actually handy
hours.
to show what I've read this year that I gave quite high rating to. Oh, one series I really want to mention before I forget is I don't know if it's YA or adult because some of the like there's swearing in it, and I think she's a bit older, so I'm not 100%. But I don't know if you can see it there. Call of the Dragon
Oh, I don't know.
I
haven't read
have that on
one.
my Kindle.
by
it-
Call of the Dragon by Jessica Drake, which
No.
I think is like a pen name. She's got like a different name that she writes under. And I've read how many is like 6 books, and I've read all of them. They're really short, they're really easy to get through. And if you just want like a really fun fantasy with talking dragons, then it is definitely the one to try because I love me some dragons, and when you can talk to them, I'm all
I'm
over it. And
guessing
it's
it's
just
on Kindle.
yeah, it's on
Yeah.
they're
Well-
all on Kindle Unlimited.
Me and
Good
Deborah, because
audiobook.
Deborah just in the comments saying about her journaling and stuff like that. Me and Deborah both know that Kate Daniels fucking rocks, because we've talked about this before. But I love Kate Daniels by Ilona Andrews. I absolutely love that series so much because it's like, I normally am not big on urban fantasy, but I have like such a soft spot for her work because it's so well done and it's funny and there's sassy heroines and there's just like crazy like necromancy and blood magic and all this kind of shit, and it's just really like I could read it
I was
all
going to
day.
say
It's like
Carrie loves her as well. There's now 3
yes,
of
she's
them hanging
amazing.
up on me. Steph sent me a video trying to get me. It's fantasy romance with like shifters and stuff and different mythology.
Yeah,
But Steph sent me
like
a video trying to get me to read it, and Dave was pissing himself laughing because she's like, "There's blood magic, there's necromancy, there's mythology." He's like,
no, I was just shouting at her basically. I was like, "So just fucking read it."
It was just the fact that you're like, "There's necromancy." Like,
yeah,
and it's a husband and wife duo, isn't it?
yeah, you're right. Yeah, I was husband and wife job. But what I didn't know, which I'm really upset, because I've read her other book as well, which is based on a different like world type thing in a certain other area. But that one is like so like, as obviously someone who's been in the army, I could automatically tell that this person knew their shit when it came to like military structure and weaponry and all that kind of stuff. And I found out that he was actually in the military. That's why. So I was like, because he writes so like you can obviously tell he has that experience. And he was writing about like PTSD and he was writing about tanks and certain guns, and I was like, yep, I know that, and like saying things, and I was like, yep, I know that too. And like even when it comes to like the Kate Daniels series, talking about the camel, how to put on your camel properly, like the paint on your face. Like he does it in a certain rhythm like I would do because I'm a soldier, so like that's how you get taught to do it. And I was like, But yeah, he's a soldier, so it's cool. Yeah, cool.
I do like that, and I will read it because as I'm discovering,
I know where you live now.
Where it's I don't like romance in books. I don't like YA romance because it's insta love. I don't get feelings until I already know the person, so I prefer a relationship to build that way, of their kind of they become friends and then something happens.
Yeah.
Oh, well, this way Kate Daniels series is nothing obviously happens until like book 4, I think, but they hate, like there's like a very like love hate like thing between them. It's cool. Yeah, it's good. I love
the lion shifter bit made him crack up laughing as well, that you told me.
What was that one?
The lion shifter.
Oh yeah,
where she doesn't know what to say when she walks up. Lion shifter.
Yeah, she's
and
cute.
Apparently she's walking over to this lion shifter who's the only one of his kind. The only thing she could think to say is, "Here, kitty, 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 kitty."
Oh yes, she does. Yeah, she says that to Karen. Yeah, she's quite amusing. I love it, honestly. Like I say, I'm not like somebody who generally picks up a whole lot of urban fantasy, but there are certain books that I just love it. And that is definitely one series that I could read all day because Kate makes me crack up. And her shenanigans are always hilarious. She's always covered in some like fucking goo or blood or some kind of shit. It's funny.
I haven't continued on.
Neither.
Is the continuation the one that I thought was the first book?
No, that's for the Kate Daniels one. Hidden Legacy is a different one. There's 3 books with Nevada. I think her name's Nevada. Yeah, I've not read Blood Air yet. No, I need to read it though. Definitely need to read it. I'm working my way through all of her books, well, all of their books. Yeah, but I haven't read. So I've read the first 3 of the Hidden Legacy, but I haven't gone on to the other ones just yet because I only just read all 3 of the other ones like a couple months ago. It was like last month, the month before, I don't know. But yeah, I'm working my way.
I have an honourable mention because it's not finished. And Steph will probably agree.
100%. 100%.
I've still only read the first one.
Honestly, I remember reading this. I read the first one last.
In this one, the elements that are introduced in this one I was literally sat screaming, going, Steph, read it. I need to talk to someone because I knew
heard
Tilly
bad
won't
things.
get.
What?
But I've heard people say it does get a bit info dumpy, but I did the audiobook, so I didn't notice info dumpy.
Yeah, I saw
But
really
there
bad ratings for
certain
it, so I was a little
types
like,
of magic that are introduced, and there's going to be a spin-off series where the next book comes out in October that follows the god of death, which should tell you which elements in this I now.
I know. Also, Carrie, yeah, Derek. I knew that kind of Derek would be, but yeah, I think for that book, definitely need to pick it up.
Yeah,
I agree. I think that's a great series. I love Jennifer L. Armentrout as well, though. I
It does
started reading
repeat
her.
itself a little bit, but again, with
I
audio,
think
you
that's
don't really notice it as much.
I think that's from the type of writing she's previously done. Because I think when I read her other series, what was it called? Stone Cold Touch. And I read that years and years ago. And I remember really liking it because there was like a demon guy who's the love interest called fucking Roth, and I was like, a demon, like sexy demon, like yeah, totally there for that. But I don't know, like I think there is that whole habit of like new book, kind of a little bit of information that was already in the last book, but obviously we know that that's repetitive and we get a bit annoyed with it. So, but yeah.
I think I saw Deborah when she put her stories up about it. I think you did say that it was a bit info dumpy and she kind of repeated herself a bit. Am I thinking of the right series of one of the main characters in that is called Cat?
No, I don't know.
Okay. You'll have to tell me what that one is.
I'll have to have a look. I think I can't remember now.
Well, that series is very heavy because it's just like my home.
Turns out me and Deborah are as thirsty as each other, apparently.
Oh, Abby's gone.
No, she just disappeared. It's obviously me mentioning too many guys, too many fantasy romance.
I read this before I owned it, and now she's back, and I loved it. I don't know what
it does that for some reason on my phone. I don't know why.
But yeah, I loved it, and I immediately did Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, and I didn't even own either of them when I read them, which doesn't happen.
I read the first one last November, and it was on Kindle. I had bought the Kindle.
How many times have you read it? How many times have you read it?
Not that bad actually. I've only read that one about 3, I think.
Since November.
Yeah. I've got a problem, okay? Needs to be a fucking therapy group for bitches like me. Hi. Are you overreading fantasy romance repeatedly throughout your life? That would be me. I'm fucking terrible. Should be like an A, fucking me in. So bad.
Who wants to go next? Because I still have stacks around me.
Okay. Give me a minute.
I have one that I'd like to talk about.
Okay. Go on then.
Lies of Loch Lamora by Scott Lynch.
Oh yeah, you like that one, don't you? It's on your fave.
I've never read continuously and so quickly through obviously it's only the trilogy at the minute, but there is supposed to be a 4th book, and it's supposed to be coming sometime. It's supposed to be this year, but I think it said that last year as well. So I'm not holding out too much of a hope. But the 3rd book, the way it ends, I need the next one. Like I'm gonna reread before I even attempt. It's so good. Like
you left it.
I need to try again. Please.
I think I've got that. The Lies of Loch Lamora. I do think I own it, but I just I haven't picked it up yet. I knew that it was one of your faves, though. I know you said that before.
I love it. Like people compare it, they're like, oh, it's I don't know why everything gets compared to Six of Crows if it's got heist in it. That doesn't mean it's Six of Crows. It means it's got heist in it, and that's a theme in like a book. But like,
it's just a trope that gets used. Or a plot
But, like-
device or whatever you want to call it.
I think it's just Six of Crows is like the most popular one in the community for the heist books, isn't it? So everyone else
Yeah.
gets to compare to
Yeah.
it, even if
The
they've read it
heist isn't
before
even like
or
the
whatever.
biggest part of that book, though.
Mhm.
Like,
No.
there's barely a heist in it. Like, the heist is over real quick. But this was like pitched as like, oh, if you like Six of Crows, but for adults, and I'm like, no, not at all. It's completely
like
own
when
story.
things say, if you like Game of Thrones, you'll like this just because it's got politics in it. And
Although-
quite often it's nothing like Game of Thrones, which I can say
George,
now
like-
because I'm on the last book.
Fucking Mage's Blood, for example.
Yes.
Yeah. George R. R. Martin does say that he liked it, though. What did he say? He said, a fresh, original, and engrossing tale by a bright new voice from
Wow.
Mr. Game of Thrones himself. So,
Exactly. There you have
and
it.
I think I get why you had issues, Kat, is because like there is like
It's
kind of-
very low magic.
it. Yeah, it is.
And
So I
Yeah.
think that was,
for
yeah.
the characters.
But I heard people had issues because it goes back to like his past, so like back to when he's like, young. But it's just like I liked that because I liked seeing where he came from and why he is like why Locke is the way he is.
Yeah.
But if you like, because I obviously love Hadrian and Royce from Raya. I love the bromance. I love the relationship, the banter. Love banter between characters, and this has that. So it's just another one of those stories where, like, the plot, like, even though, like, by the end of this, because it is quite like, because he's like very much like Kaz Brekker, where he's very smart with what he's doing, and the twists and turns I never saw coming. So yeah, and then like the second book is really good. Not probably my favorite, but again, just I would say because I didn't like that it was set so much at sea. I seem to have this thing where I used to love books set at sea, and now I'm 50-50 with them. Like, I either really like it or really don't like it, because I just think it's such a contained space to be set. I get bored with it very quickly.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, you're on a boat, you're sailing somewhere, we're sailing. Okay, get to the place you're going to sail to. Get off the
Yeah.
boat.
Yeah. That.
But the third book, and that's why I need the next one. I'm gonna message him and be like, please, can you just give it to me? Like, whatever you've got written, just give it to me, please. But yeah, that's one of my favorites. Like, and I don't think he's written anything else though. Not to my
Oh,
knowledge.
I don't think you have.
No, so I want him to write more. It's one of the authors that I'm like, please write more books, please, and faster, please.
He needs to learn to be like Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah, like, doesn't man
He's
have
a
a life
machine.
though? He doesn't have a life.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, he writes and writes and writes, doesn't he? Just,
is he
He's
married? I
right.
assume he's married.
He's got a wife.
yeah,
He
he does.
does his YouTube channel. He does lectures at his local university for the
Yeah,
English
he does.
degree.
I watch his lectures.
And then he can whack out a Stormlight draft in like 3 months.
It's
And
mental,
then
honestly. Yeah, absolutely mental how quickly he turns around his drafts, honestly.
He started
I
writing
watched his
Rhythm of War.
lectures.
Yeah, he started writing Rhythm of War last January, and it came out in November. So he'd done all of the edits, all of the different drafts, everything.
I need to
in 11
continue. I've only read the first two, and I love them so much. I don't know why. I think it's because they're so big. It's a lot of commitment when you start a big book. It's just like, I don't want to stop.
Tend to get halfway, put it down, and then come back to it.
Yeah,
I think doing the 1,000 and odd pages all in one go, it's a bit much.
You wouldn't be able to do anything else, would you? You literally wouldn't be able to pick up anything else. It'd be so, like, it'd be just
No,
take
I can't.
your
Unless it's middle grade or graphic novel, I can't read anything alongside them either because there's
No.
so much going on that I need to concentrate on. I'm
Yeah.
halfway through Dawn Shard, but I'm not overly interested in it. So I might just skip it and go straight to Rhythm of War. Because I didn't like not Storm Dancer. Edge Dancer? I didn't like that either.
I didn't like the character.
She's annoying.
She's annoying.
I'm sure there's reasons
she's a child,
for it.
so maybe it's because she's a child. Why she's annoying, but like,
What does
I
she
just didn't
call
care.
the magic? Her awesomeness. It used
Awesome.
the word awesome like 7 times in the same sentence. And you just sat reading going, stop it.
Yeah. I also need to read his other, like, his second era from Mistborn.
I didn't
Uh,
like it.
I know you do, but it's because it's got guns. But I think it'd be quite interesting.
Yeah,
Different,
yeah.
I loved Elantris. Everyone seems to like think that's his weakest work, but I'm like,
You
I love
DNF'd Warbreaker. I
Um,
love Warbreaker. I have the
I love
first
Warbreaker.
with you down here.
Also, though, the
That's why
funny thing
I
about
don't like it.
everyone gives so much stick to Elantris, and I actually really like that story.
I love
Given
Elantris.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I think it's good. It's a really good story. I thought it was great. A lot of people are like, "Oh, it's really shit. It's a really bad one. Just skip that one." And I'm like,
Yeah, like
"No,
it's his worst. Like people like if they had like to rate when I ever see a ranking, they're like that's the bottom of the bat. I'm like, but it was so good. It's the story's so cool as well, and like
no."
I loved it. I love all of his books. To be fair, I don't think I've given one below 4 stars. So
I do kind of
Yeah, I
get
love
why
Warbreaker.
people don't necessarily like it. Like
no,
in
I don't get it.
It was his newer stuff, wasn't it? Like, so he wasn't as seasoned an author as obviously his later stuff, which I totally get the writing. And there is obviously, it's not perfect, but it's damn well good. Like, I think it's
For
a
a
really,
first
really good
book,
story.
like I think it's pretty
that
amazing.
wasn't actually his first written book. He wrote the
Wasn't
original Mistborn trilogy first, but because that needed editing and because it was a trilogy, Elantris came out first. I may have watched some interviews.
Yeah, he did.
But-
But officially, Elantris was published first. It was his first debut. And like, yeah, you can tell. Obviously, it's his first work. It's his first kind of in the world work, and I think, I mean, like, it's still fucking a great story. So I love it. I think it's a really, really good story, and I love Warbreaker as well. I think it's absolutely amazing.
At some point, do I still have it? I think I have it on my Kindle. But I also get why, like, the magic system in Warbreaker is really cool, and there are crossover characters between Warbreaker and Stormlight.
Yeah, Stormlight. Another thing that I think is really, really cool about Warbreaker is just like that. I'm not going to say it for spoilers because obviously if Deb has not been able to get into it, but like the fact that there's certain characters who you think are going to be a certain way, but then they turn out to be squishy. I'm just like, I adore them. I just adore them.
But I already knew I liked his writing, and I love a really detailed and properly fleshed out magic system, which he does so well.
King of that.
He explains everything. I hate when something is magic just because it needs to do that and you have no explanation of why it's happening. I never ever get that feeling with Brandy Sandy.
No.
I think the other Steph started calling him Brandy Sandy, and now I can't stop it.
Yeah, I think I preferred Elantris over Warbreaker, though, if I'm quite honest. Like, I don't know why, but yeah,
No.
I'm an Elantris stan.
I think I prefer Warbreaker, but I do love Elantris, and I know that, like I say, when I read it, because I started from Elantris to Warbreaker to
That's what I did.
and stuff, but I think I was expecting not to like it because so many people were being like, "Oh, you probably won't like that one. Just bear that in mind," or "Oh, you know, just lower your standards a little bit for this one because it's not as greatest." So I went into it thinking, "Oh, this is going to be shit," and I ended up really liking it.
Yeah, but talking sword. I love a talking sword.
It's pretty cool. And yeah, I hope it's probably the same people person we're thinking about, Deborah. But yeah, it was a good twist. I like that. Right, this is a book that I want to talk about because I love it, and it's YA, and I cannot wait for the next one to come out in October because I'm fucking obsessed. So, Kingdom of the Wicked. I'm fucking obsessed, obviously, because it's a big bad guy and he's in hell, and obviously he's a love interest. So of course I'm obsessed because I'm an absolute tramp.
Dark hair and big muscles, and Steph's just sat going, "Take all my money right now."
I'm so bad. I can't help myself. I really can't. Whenever it's like, I'm not going to fall for the bad guy again, and then it's like he was tall, he was dark and handsome with big muscles and a terrible accent. I'm like, okay.
He's never the bad guy. He's really soft and squishy, and there's a reason why he's the way he is.
Yeah, I'm so bad for that trouble backstory. Honestly, I'm fucking terrible.
I was grabbing Oath Taker by Audrey Gray as one of my honourable mentions because it's not a finished series and I've only read the first book. But the love interest is the Lord of the Underworld.
Oh, I fucking love him. I love him so much. I love so very much. I don't know why I picked her.
I
You know
have
what?
2 and 3.
Yeah, so good. I've read all of them now, and I really need their next book. And she's not even got a fucking release date or anything for the next book. So I'm like, Audrey. But I'm obsessed. And you know what? It reminds me a lot of Sarah J. Maas. There's some very like, you know, it does seem very Sarah
It does
J.
make me think of Selena a bit.
Yes, massively. And she can be quite annoying at times. But then Stolas, my Lord of the Underworld, my absolute, literally drop right into my room right now and carry me away. I would be like, okay. He wants to kidnap me. Where? Where do you want me? Like, totally happy. I love it.
Like, she's common born, I think, but she's worked up to be the prince's protector.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a certain kind of magic, and if you end up using it, then the beasts from the underworld come and take you away, basically. So the prince gets taken away. He goes to get him back, but then she has weird magic, and the Lord of the Underworld is very interested in her. And I'm sat going, yes, please. Yes, please.
It's like a world where like magic has been kind of like banned, essentially, because that's like these bad people have kind of raised like they've kind of raised up from like the underworld, and then they've taken over, and they're doing all this crazy shit. And like Kat says, the prince obviously displays this thing, and they come and tear him away from his kingdom. She is his protector, so she doesn't settle for that shit, and she runs and tries to go get him.
I read it
really good. It gets better and better.
Straight down. I was literally walking around the house with my Kindle because it's just that addictive writing style that's very similar to Sarah J. Maas. You're on.
Yeah, it is very similar. It is. I think that's why I love it so much. Also, Deborah, you need to read it. Wait for Stolas. We'll love him. You will love Stolas. I love him. So amazing. Yes.
Out at the minute.
There's 4 out, yeah. So it's Oathbreaker, Kingmaker, Cursebreaker, Kingmaker, Light Singer. Yeah. So I've read those. Don't know what the next one's going to be. But yeah.
Yeah. That could potentially be one for me because I never ever read books that quick anymore, especially not through the week. I will on a weekend. But I literally read it Monday, Tuesday night, went on Amazon to buy the next one.
Yeah, but the thing is, I can't wait. Like, you know, I'm bad for this. I always end up recommending you series that are like fantasy romance, and I'm like, wait till you get to the bit. But like, I honestly can't wait for you to read a couple books in, and then you're like, oh, and I'm gonna be like, yeah, I'm so excited. I don't know if you can tell, I'm a bit giddy.
I trust your recommendations because you know what I like with fantasy romance. So if you say I'll like it, odds are I will like it.
Yeah, I do like.
The person I will take recommendations from.
Yeah, I do like my fantasy romance more and more these days. Apparently, like I'm just terrible for it. But yeah, I do like a good bad guy.
I don't mind a bit of romance, but I don't know. Like saying that I did love From Blood and Ash.
Yeah,
I'm picky.
Like that, where the fantasy is still very much center stage. The romance is there, but the fantasy and the plot is still there. I think especially with a lot of YA, the romance takes over and the plot all just falls apart.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. The ones that I tend to like are the ones that have big plots that are following along, and like you say, the
world, lots of magic.
Yeah. It just kind of is there to help the story along, like with a characterization and stuff. But I don't see. I find it really funny because I think in this space, particularly when it comes to adult fantasy, you're like, there's so many girls on like YouTube and that who talk about adult fantasy, but they're like, oh, I don't like romance, like as if they have to fucking dodge it or something. Like, I just find it really, like, if you don't like it, then that's fine. But there's a lot of girls who are very much like, you just can't go near romance, and I'm like, nah. Like, I'm a woman. I like a bit of sex in my books now and then. Like, it's fine.
If it's
I'm not trying to do that. I'm just,
full first book, there's no sex in it at all.
Yeah. No, I'm not like asking
I was expecting something. I was expecting something. Who's going next?
I have another one.
Go on then.
Along the Razor's Edge, which is self-published. It's so good. Rob J. Hayes, I've now read a good chunk of his books, and he's quickly becoming one of my new favorite authors.
Yeah.
I absolutely love. This is a trilogy, which does it have a name? The War Eternal trilogy. So good. Yes. Did you finish the series, Kat?
No,
No.
partly because I have the Heresy Within from him, which I
Oh yeah,
Heresy Within.
Yeah.
I've not read it yet, so I'm like, I can't carry on with this series until I've read the one that I've had for 2 years.
That's very true.
I have the Heresy Within.
I have that on Kindle too. I think.
I have it, and I'm signed up to his newsletter because he's on a podcast that goes on YouTube as well.
Yeah, well, he does the Grimdark, where he like has a lot of self-published that he recommends and stuff. I'm signed up to the newsletter too.
That. And for his anniversary, he made that entire first trilogy that he did that started with Heresy Within. He made it free for like 2 days on Kindle. So I was like, yes, please, yes, please, yes, please.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I started with this one because it's the one I heard the most about from him, and I absolutely loved it. The entire trilogy is so good. It's very dark, it's very grim, and I loved that.
I like that one.
I also read he has like it was like a really short sci-fi called Drones. I think it was called Drones. It might be in here actually. It might be easier. Which was really good as well. I really enjoyed that one. And then I read where is it? I've read a good chunk of his books this year because I just, like I said, I picked that one up on a whim. I've read It Takes a Thief to Catch a Sunrise, which is a really I really enjoyed that as well. It was quite a funny one, but it's like about like a married couple and they like pretend to be different people to like steal from like rich people. It was just a fun little read. And yeah, Drones is the, like kind of sci-fi one, which is very short, and I also really enjoyed that. And then yeah, I want to read his the Takes a Thief to Catch a Sunrise does have a sequel, which I do want to pick up. But he's got the Heresy Within. I'm pretty sure there's like other books in that, or like he's got so many books. Basically, he's got a lot of books, and I want to work my way through them because I
similar
love them.
to Michael. I think he will pretty much rough draft the entire series before he releases the first one. So he does a release about every 3-4 months for a series, and then he has a break for like 6 months while he writes the next one, and then he releases them, and then he has a break and stuff.
Well, he's doing those ones at the minute. They're like
the Never Die ones.
Yeah, Never Die, and then there's like Thorn's Gambit. They're not. It's not a series, I don't think, but it's like.
I think it's a series of standalones.
Yeah, so it's like the same world, but you don't have to read all of them. I think I have Never Die on my Kindle as well. I do want to buy them all, but these cost quite a lot when I got them. Well, I had a Waterstones gift card. I was surprised to see them on Waterstones because I was like,
some of them are.
So I was like very like surprised. I was like, well, it's the perfect time to get them. Obviously, because they're self-published, they're a little bit more expensive. So, but I do eventually want to have all of his books physically because he is like, quickly becoming one of my new favorite authors for sure.
Yeah, I definitely need to read that. I think it's great because it's on Kindle Unlimited, so I can pick it up at any time. So, but I'll definitely need to do that. Right.
Yeah, just like the setting's just really cool as well because it's like she gets thrown into this pit because she's like a prisoner of war and thrown into this pit with just like the most horrible people that you can imagine, and like just her strength throughout, like how she grows through the series is just one of my best, like one of the like most kind of like powerful female perspectives I've read from, kind of thing, because like the stuff she goes through and the strength that she has is just I loved it. So good.
Oh yeah,
really I do definitely want to read more from him.
Yeah, he's really nice as well. Like, he's a nice guy. I love when authors are just friendly, and it makes me like want to read all their books and buy all their books then.
Oh, there we go. Right, next book, Blood Song by Anthony Ryan.
Oh, I need to read that.
Need to read that.
He's got a new one coming out soon. He's got it's Prayer or something like that. That's coming out this year. I really want to read his other books.
I think it's set in the same world.
So like the A Wolf's Call is obviously set after this trilogy. So you need to read this trilogy before you can read A Wolf's Call. But by the way, the writing, because I started reading A Wolf's Call but wanted to come back and reread all of this. Because I was like, I know, but I forgot a little bit. So but the writing just he's leveled up so much in between. That's the first book in this series to the new series. Like that is just it's so fucking good, so good. Like grips you straight away. It's so good. But honestly, this is such a good story as well.
Yeah, am I correct in thinking that you both DNF'd his like Draconis?
Fire.
Waking
Yeah,
Fire?
we didn't love
But-
that.
I know.
Everybody has told
I
me
have
his
those
writing
too.
that is very, very different to Bloodsong. It's a completely different writing style and
And I
everything.
would obviously, I had read Bloodsong before I tried that one anyway, and like when I tried it, I was a bit like, oh, I'm really not getting along with the character all that well. But yeah, I love this. This is like Valen goes to like this. He's like a young kid, and basically his dad, he's like, mum dies, and he's basically like dumped on his dad, and his dad's like a fucking like war hero or some like general or something like I can't remember exactly, but he's some kind of like decorated hero or whatever. He does well for the king and blah blah blah. But he doesn't know how to look after a child, so he dumps him in this like it's like there are different churches and different churches deal with different things, and he basically will be a fighter. He'll be like a fucking the blade that is wielded by the realm type thing. So he's basically from a young age dumped in this place and has to learn how to do it all, and he gets himself into some sticky situations and all that, but it's really good. Like I really enjoy this book. I think his writing's great, and I do think these characters are really like gritty in that. I think it's good, so good.
I saw Elliot Brooks talking about that she loved Bloodsong because she had like an arc of Pariah, and she was sort of like that it was like one of her most surprising reads where it wasn't like one that she thinks she would love, and then she read it and she loved it. So I've seen her talking about it recently. She's to be fair, she's the one I get most of my recommendations from. As soon as I've seen Elliot's read it, I'm like, I'm gonna try that book now. So
Bloodsong's great. It's really, really good. And like I say, his writing and that's really, really good. I remember like when I first opened up A Wolf's Call, that like even just like that prologue chapter at the start is just like phenomenally well done. Like so well done that you're like,
I started The Wolf's Call and I liked it, and then you went, no, you need to read Bloodsong first. I was like, okay, I'll put it down because I got it off NetGalley. It didn't say it was the second series in a world. So I don't want to spoil myself.
I think I saw The Wolf's Call for like 99p on Kindle, so I got it because I thought like it was you could read it because it said book 1, so I was like, okay, book 1. But now I realize that now sometimes you've got to go in and you've got to research the series. Like now, if I see a book, I'm like, right, let me see whether this is like part of a bigger world, part of a bigger series before I go in and get it.
I didn't realize it because I mean, I had read like Bloodsong and that, but I didn't realize that it was an add-on series. So I was like, I think I got to like, the first chapter and then it said Valen, and I was like, wait a fucking minute. I was like, you sound familiar, and obviously it's because Valen's obviously what the first like trilogy is about, is that character. So I was like, oh, I see. And that's why I texted you, Kat, because I was like, oh.
You were like, stop.
Yeah,
we're reading it together.
Yeah. Which was really annoying because because and the thing is, if you don't know that and you go into it, it'll spoil you so quick. Because there's I think it even says like really in that first chapter it says something that's a spoiler to the other books, and I remember being like no.
Yeah, it's like I did it. I started reading is it Mage Blood? I started reading the second Stephen Aryan series, and I finished the entire first book in that before I realised it was the second series in the world. So I'd already spoiled the ending of the first one for me, which I think is why when I went back and read that, it got lower ratings than the second series because I already knew how it was going to end.
Yeah.
I hate when that happens. You kind of don't realise, and again, if you don't like know, then you don't know. But it is annoying.
Like I've seen people go, yes, I've got. Oh, is it Empire's Ruin, the new Brian Staveley one?
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah. Wait to read this. I've heard so much good things. I'm like going, no.
It's on my list.
The world. I've not finished the third book yet. No, you can't do that. There's 4 other books that you need to read, otherwise you will spoil it.
Yeah.
Hello, gorgeous.
Yeah, this is probably what because I remember I think I saw you again most of the time. When I see a book, it's either from Kat or Steph, and they loved it, and then I'm like, I'm gonna pick it up. I managed to find all like the pretty like US editions.
I don't
'cause
like
I
covers.
Oh,
Did I give you
love
my
the
cover of that stuff? The Brian Staveley one?
I think
I
so.
don't remember if it was in
It'll
that
be
box that I
somewhere.
gave you last year.
The
It'll
US
be
covers are just so
somewhere.
cool. I mean, look at that.
Generic man holding sword. And the
Yes,
American ones
probably.
are so much better.
I
Look
think
at it.
so.
They are
Yeah.
so much
These, they're called kestrels, and this is like what the next like companion series, I would say, is going to be about. It's going to be about the kestrels, and I'm like, oh, yes, please. And then this one, which like a novella, was so good. Like and it was really short as well. And I've never read it. I mean,
I read
'cause,
that
like,
one first.
You can technically, because it doesn't spoil
You
anything,
can.
because it's like
It
a
explains it
prequel.
all itself. Yeah.
But I feel like I enjoyed this more after reading about because the character features in the trilogy, and then
Yes.
reading about because obviously the way she is in the series, like if you want morally grey characters, definitely this series has got them for you, because there's many times when people just like screw each other over, and it's just so nonchalant. Like you've got to know these characters. They seem like they're
Even
working
the
together.
siblings do it.
Even the siblings, like, to be fair, the like the sister of the trio is the most annoying out of the bunch, I will say.
Yeah.
And not because he wrote her badly, it's just like her character in general is just really stupid. Like I think she was probably supposed to be. But yeah, it was such a good series. I will say I loved the parts with the kind of kestrels, like that kind of when you're following that storyline was probably my
The
favorite. I'm
assassinate type
so
people ride on
yeah.
them.
Like them flying on these giant birds. I'm like, I want more of that. So when the new series got announced, I was like, yes, good. I was so excited. I entered. He had like a Twitter competition to win like a signed copy of the book, and it was like his 6-year-old son was gonna choose like his favorite tagline from like the cover. I think the one that won was like something like someone said parkour, because she looks like she's doing parkour. But I think what did I put? I put is this where I audition for Attack on Titan? Because she looks like she's have you ever seen the show Attack on Titan? The anime? No? In that they have like these like weird contraptions that help them fly through like buildings and stuff. And she looks like she's in that pose that they do. I was good. I was like, oh, that's so I thought I was being so clever, but obviously the 6-year-old is gonna pick parkour over my very clever tagline that I gave it. Silly kid, but it's fine because I do have a US edition coming of it, because I pre-ordered from Waterstones, and I hate when they do that. But on Waterstones they seem to do this thing where they put whatever cover and you pre-order it and you're like, oh, that's the cover that I'm gonna get, and then down the line they change the cover, and I hate that, because then I had to cancel my order and pre-order it from somewhere else because I need them to match. So.
Is Kat, is your audio back?
Yes.
I didn't realize you were moving.
I had to put a comment like, my audio has gone.
Oh, I didn't realize I was just, like,
and I have to go into the settings, pick one of the other ones, hit test, and then go back to my actual one. I kind of have a honourable mention because it's not a completed series and it's self-pub. Dark Oak by Jacob Sannox.
Yeah, you did that one.
I didn't like that one.
I have the other cover. I have the old cover.
Me too. He lives on my Michael shelf, which should tell you.
Matchings.
Did I read that this year? No, I think I read it last year.
But yeah, it follows dryads and naiads and things, and it's just been after the bad guy was defeated in a war, and one of the sets of people who were in that war want to make a path through the woods, and they start chopping the trees down, and the dryads get really angry about it, and then just everything kicks off. And again, elements that I really, really like introduced in the wrong book that I'm holding up, because I have too many of them in book 2, and I'm sat going, I want it.
Yeah.
What are you?
I think I gave that one 3 stars, and I'm not going to continue. I didn't like it. Like I didn't hate it. I thought it was like okay. I didn't love it. I'm quite bored most of the time. I found it quite boring.
He keeps trying to send me his other series that he's got called Raven Master. That's kind of like, oh, it's not Sherlock Holmes. It's like King Arthur, but he's in current time. but he can like go backwards and forwards, I think. And I'm like, I'm not convinced I'm going to like it. So I got the audiobook myself because I had it on Kindle, which meant that I got the audio for $2.99, and I'm going to try that way instead. I can't twist that far.
I will admit that doesn't sound like something you would like.
No, but I know I already like his writing style, so it's similar-ish. He did write his first, Two Left-Handed Booksellers of London. That's a similar idea of it's Arthurian people, and they can like sync through the different levels of magic. So there's like goblin markets and stuff in it. So if it's similar to that, I may like it. Hello, gorgeous boy. And then because I have a funny feeling I'm going to get yelled at for walking the dog, I have a couple of standalones, which Sorcery of Thorns.
I did like that one. Didn't like Enchantment of Ravens though.
I haven't tried Enchantment of Ravens. I have it
Enchantment of Ravens is not worth trying. When you've read Sorcery of Thorns and you like that one, just leave it at that.
It was 99p on Kindle, so
I gave it 2 stars, and I'm quite generous with my rating.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. I was like,
again, I read it without owning it, and then Steph bought me this.
Yeah, I think I unhauled my copy because it was one of those where I was like, I read it, I don't think I'm ever going to read it again. But I am interested to read her new book.
Oh yeah, so am I.
Necromancy.
Yes. Yeah. I love it. Like I read Enchantment of Ravens. I had that as a physical copy and got rid of it. And then I got an arc of Sorcerer of Thorns, loved it because I read it before the hype came out. So I was just like, loved it. And then I got myself a hardback copy, and then I also got myself a Fairy Loot copy. I got that now. Yay. So yeah, I love that one.
Probably confirm, but apparently the writing in this is completely different to Enchantment of Ravens.
Yeah, Enchantment of Ravens is really flowery. I think it's really flowery, and do you know what? I think Enchantment of Ravens seems to do this thing of like a slow build, and then it just jumps and then crashes. And I'm like, where the fuck is that story at? Like, it just seemed to have such a quick height, like at the peak of the story,
and for a short book, it was for a short book, it was so slow. It was so slow, and then the last bit was just nuts. And I was just like, where has this been for the most of the book? Because I was like, I was slogging through it. And I finished it because I was like, I wanted to know what happened. But by the time I got to the end, I was like, because it happened so quick and was over so quick, it just didn't have any impact on me then. So I
agree. Whereas Sorcery of Thorns is just completely different breed compared to that book.
Yeah, it goes a lot faster. It's got warlocks. It's got a talking cat.
It's got magical books that just jump off the shelves and
books
just
come alive and have monsters in them and stuff.
Yeah, I will say the only critique I have of Sorcery of Thorns was the pacing a little bit, because I felt like at some point in the book, I felt like it was the end, and I was looking, I was like, why is there so many pages left? This feels like it's going to be the climax of the story. And then it kept going and going, and I was like, oh, so is that a false end? Because when you feel like it's coming to everything's building up to this thing, and then it happened, and then it went on, and I was like, and then there was another ending. It was I felt like the pacing was a little bit
I didn't get that at all, but I read it on my Kindle as an arc, and I literally couldn't put it down. I remember being like, I was in the car going somewhere, and I was still obviously I wasn't driving, but I was still driving. Yeah, I was still in the car reading it, and whilst I was meant to be going somewhere for a family thing, and I was just like,
I can't read in the car. I don't know how people do it. I get such a headache.
I can audio. I can't read.
I can do audio, but I can't. And usually I have to be in the car by myself to do audio, because I feel really rude sitting next to someone that's driving.
I can't understand my audio books. They're on too fast.
Yeah.
I do think Sorcery of Thorns is a good one. I totally would have gone this if they had a sequel to that story, which they fucking could have. But she's like, it's a standalone.
Left it open that she can go back. But the new one is going to be a duology, I think, and it's got necromancy in it. I was just like, pre-order. Just pre-order.
Do you know who's really good at standalone books though that are quite short? Is Trisha Levenseller. I've loved every single thing she's written. I'm so excited to read
Warrior of the Wild is one of my favorites of hers. I love that.
War of the Wild.
I haven't read it yet.
I loved Shadows Between Us. For someone who, again, not romance isn't my like number one love in books, and that's like
That was a gosh one for
just
me.
romance.
Didn't love love.
No, I love that. And then Daughter of the Pirate King and Daughter of the Siren Queen, so good. So yeah, Blade of Secrets, I haven't got it yet, but I do want to get myself a copy.
I haven't got it.
She's an autobi author for me.
One of my friends says there's panic attacks described in it, so I'm sat going, I don't know whether I'm going to buy it or just see if
I'll
let me read
buy
it, and I'll let you know.
Yeah,
I'll let you know about it if I read it.
I think my favorite one of hers is, like I say, Warrior of the World. I thought that story was really, I mean, like, whilst it was not what I was expecting going into it, like from the start of the story to how it ended and stuff wasn't what I was expecting, but I still really enjoyed it. And that Shadow Between Us, I had a Fairy Loot copy that I ended up giving it away because I liked it. I just didn't love it. Like, I don't know.
I've unhauled all of my books from her because they're not ones that I would reread. I love them. I gave most of them 5 stars. But I don't think they're ever anything that I would reread.
Yeah,
I've still got all mine. I love her books so much.
Just quickly going back to Margaret Rogerson, I've seen a thing that Fairy Loot may be doing a special edition of Vespertine.
Well, obviously I'm going to get it.
Yeah. Owlcrate have one that's having an exclusive cover and
editions. Stuff. I really can't. Like,
there are very few that I will buy.
I've got 2. I've got the Limicrate and the Fairy Loot for from Blood and Ash series coming. So
Did I get the Fairy Loot? I think I got the Fairy Loot because I liked the cover better. Because I didn't like the art style. I didn't like the covers.
No. I don't think the covers are too bad.
I do have like 3 copies of Empire of the Vampire on order though.
Yeah, I've got 3. Okay. I've got the Waterstones, the Forbidden Planet, and then I've also got the US edition. Because that's cover. They're all different. And I want the Goldsboro, but I didn't get it. I spent 3 hours of my life trying to get it. He's been messaging me about it, Jay. He's been messaging me saying, like, he's trying to convince me to get the Barnes & Noble edition. I was like, Jay, I love you, and I want to collect all the editions of your books, but I'm also a broke-ass bitch. You want to send me one? You can send me one, then that's fine. But, like, I'm like, I am poor, and the shipping from, to get the Barnes & Noble one is more expensive than the book. It is, like, 50 quid. I've already spent more than that on those 3 editions I've got, so...
Yeah, I think the only one I would potentially reread is Warrior of the Wild because I have discovered that Steph has corrupted me and I love Viking books.
Yeah,
I love Viking books. Like Northern Rat. I can't wait for the sequel for that.
Northern Rat and Shadow of the Gods, which I know Kerry is reading.
So fucking good.
I
don't want to put it. Only read what.
So good.
I'm so happy because the cover was so beautiful. I was like, if I don't like this, I'm gonna be so sad.
I know, right? It's so beautiful. So beautiful.
Orbit messaged me.
Yeah,
Orbit messaged me and were like, I have spare copies because Abby sent them my way. She's like, I already have a copy, but Kat wants one. Message her. I literally.
Of course, I had to do that.
Phone to somebody at work, and I literally screamed down the phone at them.
Oh, it's so good though.
Well, because I thought to myself, I was like, when they said, like, we got spares, I'm like, well, I've already got one, but I know someone who would absolutely love one, and you need to send her more books anyway, because she reads Orbit. So
I have so many people who tell me they pick up adult fantasy because I rave about them, and then I can't get the biggest adult fantasy publishing house to send me stuff because I don't quite have 1,000 followers.
Yeah, but now you're on the list, I think, anyway. I don't know if I'm on the list.
I'm not officially on the list, but if I ask for something, I can usually get it if they have spares.
Yeah. Well, I'm still confused because they reached out and said, do you want a Master of Djinn? Or, like, keep an eye out for a Master of Djinn for me. And I was like, okay, like, I'm so excited because I love the novellas in that by P. Djeli Clark. Probably butchering that. Yeah, I've read those 2 novellas and they're so good, and I'm so excited for Master of Djinn. And I was waiting for my copy. I've been waiting. I do have an e-arc of it, but I just was like, the proof is really pretty. I would like that, but like, it's fine.
Sorry, if I can send it to you, Abby, if you want.
You sure? They might still send it to me.
I can send it to you.
I'll leave it a little bit because they might still come through. I might just be like the last on the list. Maybe they do it by alphabetical, and I'm Thompson, so I'm like the last person to get.
Yeah.
But yeah, because they've reached out to me about a couple of like, because I always been like, that's people like were asking me like, how did you get on the list and stuff. I was like, you just got to interact with them, like you got to
Just
you know,
interact, you spam
yeah.
them with stuff so that your name is always in their inbox.
Yeah. And then places like Rebellion and Angry Robots, they're really easy to reach out to. They don't make it like inaccessible. Like I reached out to them,
No, they don't.
yeah, and I was like, here's my platform and like this is what I talk about. And they're like, yeah, well that's just like they're very easy. They're like very easygoing about it. And then they're good as well because they send you lists, which I prefer. I so much more prefer. Send me a list of all the books and I only pick the ones that I really want.
Yeah, they only send you the ones that you actually ask for as well.
Yeah.
So like I'm now on the Angry Robot list because Caroline reached out because I'd got sent The Coward through NetGalley and she saw on my feed that I already liked the author. So she's like, do you want a copy and do you want to be on the blog tour? I was like, yes, please.
Yeah.
And now I'm on their audio list as well. So
yeah, I need to get on that list.
I
love audio.
Address.
But yeah. But we'll see. It might come in the mail from Orbit, Master Gen. I don't know.
But the other standalone that I want to quickly do before Dave ends up yelling at me to walk the dog.
Oh, I want that book so bad. I want it.
I
really good.
I've got it.
I want that edition.
Yeah, that's the edition I've got, to be fair. I just haven't read it yet. But I know you loved it. So.
Yeah. I keep seeing people...
It's got
people
like
that have it on their Depop, and I'm like, I feel like I want to read it first before I buy like a £30 copy of it. So
yeah, I was
think
lucky enough
Amy
to have the box at the point.
It. And we don't normally agree on books, but she's like, Kat, you're gonna like it, and I'm gonna be mad about it because I want your copy because she doesn't get Illumicrate, so I send it on to her if it's one that I don't want. Like Blood Magic. And the main character falls in love with both a woman and a ghost man. And there's poly relationship in it. And
I heard the rep's really good.
Death stuff. And
I don't have my Pride underwear right now.
Huh?
I was gonna show you my Pride underwear, but I'm not wearing it right now. And I've got like Pride underwear that's got like rainbows all over it. So fucking cute.
It has fantastic. And I loved it, and I would read it again.
Oh, you made me want to read it even more.
It's
on my wish list.
It's only little.
I've got it. I should pick it up. But you know, because I've got that edition though, it's so pretty that I don't want to ruin it.
I physically read it as well, and I struggled.
Yeah.
But I do need to read it. I'll just need to take off the dust jacket and stuff.
Yeah.
But
okay.
I do need to read that.
Before we all go, I just have this. I have to mention it. Because for a while, before Michael came along, I was raving this as my favorite book. It was going to be my favorite book of all time. Strange the Dreamer. And I get why people don't like this book, because it is the most, like, purple prose writing all over the book. Well, to be fair.
I loved that, because I hate purple prose. Yeah. I hate it.
I just love Laszlo. Like, if you ask me, like, the most cinnamon roll character I can think of, it is Laszlo Strange. He's a bookworm. He is so sweet and sensitive, and I love him. And the second book, the Muse of Nightmares, I think I was actually having, like, I remember I was reading the arc. I was sat in bed, and I was freaking out. And I think my other half must have thought I hurt myself, because I was, like, going, like, I was screaming. And he's like, you're all right. I'm like, yeah, it's just the book. He's like, really? And I'm like, yes, this book. So it's one of the best duologies I've read, where I love the first one and I love the second one just as much, because it's usually like I like one more than the other, but this one, both so good. I actually have the Litjoy crate editions come in, which were
the silver and gold one.
No, it's like all the artwork. There's like Laszlo's on the
cover. Oh, it's the Illumicrate ones that are silver and gold, isn't it?
Yeah. No, the Litjoy crate is a completely different cover. It's got artwork on the inside, artwork on the reverse of the dust jacket. Like, it's got everything. It's got a lot, and it's signed. And I don't have signed editions. This is like the standard. I mean, I was lucky to get this. I think I got this just before it went out of print, and I've got the sprayed Muse of Nightmares. But yeah, I spent, I don't know how much, I think they were like £90 for just the 2 books. I couldn't help myself. And luckily I got to split the payment, because I had the PayPal where you can split. over
Yeah.
like 3 months. So it didn't feel like it was £90. Then I look back and I'm like, oh, it's £90. But they should be coming soon. But I can't help it. I like multiple editions, and this is one of my favorite duologies, so I have to mention it. But yeah, if you don't like flowery writing, you're probably not gonna like this, because it is a lot of like metaphors. I would say it's just very much like describing everything you could think of.
Her writing is very good.
I'm very annoyed because I'm like, Miss Lainey Taylor, where is your next book? There's no news of it. There's no like, is she working on something? She's been keeping very quiet, and I'm just like, where is the next book?
Something in the work. Maybe it's going to be amazing, and that's why she's keeping quiet.
But I've read Daughter of the Pirate King, Daughter of Smoke and Bone, and I have the pretty Illumicrate versions of those. I read Night of Cake and Puppets and Lips Touch. I read everything she's written, so I need something new. So she needs to give me something new.
I think her writing style is very eclectic. If you like that, you'll love it. And to be fair, I like the writing style. That story though, it just was nothing special for me. It literally
makes me so sad.
I know, honestly, I wanted to love it. The only thing that saved me from giving that such a really bad review was that ending of the first book, and I was like, okay, fine, that elevates it a little bit. But that ending was beautiful. The whole rest of the story, I was like, where the fuck is this story going? I really didn't love it.
So
I really wish I did, but no.
I love it. It's so good. But yeah, I need more from her. To be fair, lots of authors on the list. Like, I need more from. Where are their books? Or where are the sequels? Like, I love them so much. So it's like, come on, write some more.
Because, like, we have Magician. Although I think, Steph, you have that, don't you? You've got the new one.
I've got the black.
I literally walked around the house reading this. I couldn't put it down, and I love it. So however, I would only recommend this original trilogy. It's like 50 odd books long, and I DNF'd the last book because I was bored.
How many books is it?
I can tell you because I think it's on my DNF. I got 100 pages into the last book and I DNF'd it because he does a tease at the end of the second book in the trilogy. And then he goes off on one and he doesn't tell you what anything else is about it.
No, because then it makes me not want to start it if you said that you couldn't finish it.
I love Magician.
They're all separate series, so this trilogy stands on its own. There's then a duology that follows the kids of these characters, which stands on its own, and I really liked that as well. So they're all like separate series in the same world, and I DNF'd at book number 31.
Oh.
Yeah, she was very, very, very upset.
I know you love him.
It was just going downhill.
Yeah. I love that one of your only rant reviews is for his book.
That's because it's King of Ashes, and I hated it, and I wish I'd DNF'd it.
Yeah, that does gotta suck though when you get an author that you love, and then like it gets like for like his newer stuff that you don't love. So usually it's like the opposite way.
Yeah. Yes,
I love this original trilogy. I absolutely love it, but I am currently on book 32. I have 2 left, and I'm sat going, do I even want to finish it? Because he recycles storylines and he brings people back from the dead. So when people die, I'm like, well, they're just going to turn up in the next book again.
I hate that. I don't mind the resurrection trope every now and again, but some books I'm just like, just be brutal. Be a John Gwynne. And just murder people.
Murder them. He's got such like a crazy like world though. It's like a matriarchal world, and it's really violent, and it's really like cool. I love it. It's good.
Out of all of the Raymond Feist books, I've kept the original trilogy, the duology that went after it, the Crondor Sons trilogy, and the ones that I kind of like weird standalones. All of the rest of them were like 3 stars.
That's not good.
But the original trilogy, I still really recommend. It has really cool content.
I'll give that a go then.
Since it was written in the 80s.
It's really good.
But when you find out where the bad guys who are called the Swarani, I think it's pronounced, when you find out how they got there, I'm sat going, that's really unique. I've never seen that before.
Pat recommended me that book, and obviously, I don't know, how big is it? It's like fucking
100 and some pages.
850 pages or something. How quick did I read that though? I was sat giving her
You read
updates, like,
like
oh my god, I'm
Disney.
here. Oh my god, I'm here. Like, it was really, really good. I really recommend that, definitely.
Yeah.
And then you both need to read this.
I know
I
you
know, I've
keep
got
saying
it.
about
I
it
agree with.
in the group
I'm
chat every now and then. Like, Abby, have you read this? Abby, have you read? I'm like, no, Kat, I have not read it yet. I will read it.
Mine one's
I mean, it came out in 1984, so it's older again. So you will see some tropes of like,
That's
there's
fine.
a half
I
elf,
expect that.
there's a dwarf, there's a warrior, there's a wizard, there's a little. Is he a kobold? Taz? And he's so mischievous. He steals things and he just plays pranks, and he's hilarious. And he has a bun on the top of his head as well. He's like my favorite character.
Yeah, I need to read it.
But
sure.
yeah, I've read like 12 books in this world and I still really love it. It's very much like the world of Drizzt. They're both what the Dungeons and Dragons games are based on. So it's very kind of sword, sorcery. I still have stacks of books around me.
Yeah, I'm surrounded too.
I'm sitting looking
because I've read all 41 of the. Where's Kerry?
I've only read about four or five, I think.
I made Steph start with the We Free Men for Discworld because you can start anywhere. You don't have to start at book one, and I wouldn't recommend.
You made me. Was it
there.
We Free Men? Or was it more that I started?
Magic.
I can't remember now. Was it more or the We Free Men?
It was one of the two. Oh, Abby's gone again. Because this is my favourite because it's the death ones. I started with the We Free Men. Don't make me read them. Hello.
Hello. Oh my god, what's going on?
I don't know. But you can start anywhere. It's technically a series of standalone.
I googled and it said Colour of Magic. So
I
just
started
assumed
Colour of Magic. I wouldn't have carried on. That was his first released. Yes. It doesn't have
I found it in a charity shop, which is why because I saw it and I was like, oh, people say that's the first one to go with, so I bought it because I was like
I do normally say, because I think Kerry's currently working her way through it, if you're going to start with Colour of Magic, please give it at least until Mort before you give up, because the first two follow Rincewind, who is my least favourite. The third book is the first of the Witches ones, which is...
There's a lot, right?
That one's the Loose Macbeth. There's 41, but they're all dizzy.
Yeah. I always see them in charity shops. I always
and then
see, like,
Mort
tons
is book
of them.
4. But, I mean, I have...
Don't they have all of the editions of that now, like, out?
Yeah.
So you can collect the whole... Are you going to collect the whole series in those editions?
That's not even Mort. Where's Mort gone? Yeah.
Oh.
I collect these editions. This is why my tools wind you up, isn't it? From charity shops, because I love the art style. But around
that's cool.
32, I think, the artist died. So the art style changed, so you cannot get a full set in this artwork style.
Oh, that sucks.
Ta-da.
She's back.
No. My sister loves the Witches. I love the Death books. My dad loves the Guards books. Dave has read more and he really liked it. He said he would give it 4 stars.
Yeah, I definitely need to give Terry Pratchett a go. I'm willing to give anything, especially if like you like it. Then usually I'm like, well, I'm gonna give
the
it.
newer covers tend to look similar to this.
No, not as cool.
No.
I like because they're like busy. The original covers
pretty hard.
They're pretty. I like those covers.
And they have ribbon bookmarks as well.
Yeah, it's definitely an author I need to give a go. There's a lot of like old school authors that I need to give a go to.
Very funny.
Yeah.
I think I made Steph read the We Free Men first because the We Free Men are based off Pixies, which is Scottish, and they are Scottish, so they say like "okay" and stuff. So she really appreciated all that side of it. Upsetting me. I need to tidy my shelf.
Yeah.
And I have Jingo. Wait,
I need to get on with my book.
And then I've got
that I need to review tomorrow. I need to finish that book.
I've got Mistborn. This may potentially be a favourite. I'm halfway through the last one. Ah.
Oh.
Sorry.
My phone died.
Oh
no. Kerry was agreeing she didn't like the Colour of Magic. She likes the Witches best.
Okay. Well,
Kerry
as soon as I have
is
it,
buying
I'll
the
try
hard
it,
ones.
and then we'll see how I feel. And
If
I'll
you're going to try it, do the audio book by Tony Robinson, just because he does the voices amazingly well.
okay. I'll see if I can find it.
I might be able to send it to you. I might still have it on my Audible.
Yeah. Can you? I thought that you could only send one book to someone.
To each person. So if I haven't sent you a book before, I think I can send you one, because I've sent a book to Jacob and he could get it, and I've sent a book to Dave and he could get it.
Ah, strange, because I know that because I've been sent a book before. Like someone was giving away their like Audible like books, and I think they had one of the Stormlight archives. So I was like, yes, please, I'll take that one. And she just sent it to me for free. She didn't like charge me anything. And then I think Mark tried to send me something, I can't remember what it was, and he couldn't send it to me, so I got very confused.
I think it's kind of hit and miss on whether it works or not, but it's supposed to be once per person, unless it's you can only receive one gifted book. You can send however many you want, but you can only receive one gifted.
Yeah, I think you can only receive, probably that's the problem, so
I don't know, but yeah,
I'm sure I can find it cheap somewhere.
This may become a favourite series, because I'm halfway through the 4th book in like a week. So when I binge a series that quickly, you know it's one that I love.
Yeah.
My legs are dead.
My butt's dead. My butt's
so
dead.
I sit cross like a 5-year-old, so now I can't feel my legs.
Yeah, one of my foot goes really dead. Like one of them's fine, and the other one is like dead. Like I can't feel it.
I'll tell you
Too
what.
old.
Very good. Can I reach it? No, that's book 2. That one. This by Django Wexler.
Still haven't read that one.
I've not heard the best things. Like,
it's got death magic in it, so
I think you're a bit biased there.
I am. There's different worlds of sorcery in this world. So there's like Melos, which is armor, so you can summon like armor that covers you and weapons and stuff. There's Mind One. There's Edica that deals with death or kind of soul magic, and there's this death ship that comes in, and she basically has to go and try and steal the ship to save her sister. I've binged book 2 and 3 back to back. I read book 2 on holiday last week and immediately bought the 3rd one to read. So, and I read it immediately as soon as it dropped through the door.
Oh, really?
And I've also read Ashes of the Sun by him as well, and I really like that too.
Oh, yeah, I had a Kindle or NetGalley.
On Kindle Unlimited, actually.
Yeah, it was probably from Kindle Unlimited then. Yeah, because I saw the
There's
cover.
a Goldsboro.
Pretty.
I'll just make another stack next to me. Yeah, I've also got The Bone Witch out, which again, necromancy. But I know Abby didn't like the writing style.
I tried The Bone Witch and I tried The Never Tilting World. That's 2
The
books
Bone
I
Witch
tried.
is the only series that I like from her. Everything else I tried, I've DNF'd.
Yeah, I realized that like for someone who doesn't DNF, and the fact that I DNF'd 2 of her books, that just is never a good sign. So I just realized she's not an author for me.
No, and sometimes that's fine. Like it's just taste, isn't it?
Yeah, it's different. Because like that's the thing, is like we've all got very similar tastes, but there is some books I love and you guys don't like, and then there's books that you love but I don't like. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just different tastes. I think that's the thing. Like,
we don't all like the exact same books, which I think makes our live shows when we actually talk about the books quite interesting, because generally Abby loves it and me and Steph hate it.
Hey.
Yeah.
Not strictly
I feel like,
I think
I feel like I'm more critical these days. Like I actually have like a 1-star this year.
Yeah, I think I'm getting more critical and I'm getting more fussy on the types of writing that I like. Can I get it without causing an avalanche on my head? No, I can't. I mean, so I'll get one of the others.
To me, it's like time is the most valuable commodity in the world. So if I'm not liking and enjoying,
if I don't like it,
my time. So yeah, just no point of pushing through it. If I don't like you, I'm putting it down.
When people tell me I should finish every book that I read and I shouldn't DNF because what if it gets good? I'm not being funny. If I'm 150 pages into something and I don't care, I'm not going to.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It might get good at the end of like fucking page 580 or whatever, but I couldn't give less like a fucking shit because I want it to be good and grip me the entire way. If it's not, then it's not worth it. Like, I sound like a right dick, don't I? It's not worth my time.
I do have an author that I do want to recommend because I've read a duology by her and I've read the first book in another duology by her and I really liked it. And it's Evelyn Skye.
I haven't read that, but I remember wanting to pick it up.
I have really that on my wish list, I think.
Yeah, it was really like a surprising because it is YA. But it just really took me by surprise. And like I don't really hear anyone talking about it. And then when I showed it on my Instagram, I had a bunch of people like, no one ever talks about this book. And I'm like, I know, it's really weird. But she had a fairy loot book, Circle of Shadows, which I got.
Yeah.
And I read that one.
Oh, I didn't like that.
You didn't like it?
I want to try that other one.
I didn't try any of them, but that one that you just were holding up, Abby, I remember when it like I think the sequel to it came out, and there was I can't remember who it was at the time, but I was following someone on YouTube who had recommended reading that, and I was like, it sounds really good. I really need to pick it up. But
it's really good Russian inspired, like because you know how like technically Shadow and Bone is Russian inspired. This is actually like Russian, like you know, it's the names like the main characters is Vika and Nikolai, which are two very Russian names. And it's like an enemies to lovers kind of. I think, it's not like the most heavy enemies to lovers, but they do hate each other to start with, and then they end up like, you know, developing and it's just it was really good. And like, just, you know, when you read something and you're like, I just never heard anyone talk about it, and I had no expectations going into it, and then my expectations were blown out the water, and I love that. I love when that happens.
Yes, it was good. Yeah, I love when that happens.
You are welcome, Deborah. We will probably be finishing soon, partly because I really need a wee. Because
I need to have some tea.
Of iced tea and a cup of tea as well at the same time.
Yeah. Well, my butt's numb.
I do just have, it's kind of an honourable mention. I 5-starred every single book.
I have that.
I don't know whether it's necessarily going to be a favourite until I reread it, but I do want to reread it, which means it probably is. It says on the back that it's Ocean's 11 meets The Hobbit. I see The Hobbit. I've not seen Ocean's 11, but it's like a misfit band of characters on a quest to basically save the world. And there's like gods and non-human members of the team and stuff, and it's hilarious.
When I think of Ocean's 11, isn't that like a jewel heist, like, or like they're trying to rob a gambling?
It's a heist.
So it's like heist,
gambling hall. Yeah, it's like a casino.
It is a heist story.
Well, that's what it is, like a band of characters doing a heist.
Yeah.
So yeah, The Hobbit is pretty much that, isn't it? Just thinking that's
dragons rule this
world.
Yeah,
it is The Hobbit.
Yeah, so really saying like Ocean's 11 meets The Hobbit, it's like, but those are kind of the same thing.
Yeah,
they're both like
kind of.
Yeah, a group of characters going on a heist.
Dragons literally rule the world. You pay taxes to the dragons. So it says on the back, it's not easy to live in a world ruled by dragons. The taxes are high and their control is complete. But for one group of bold adventurers, it's time to band together to steal back some of that wealth.
Sounds good. I do have that first one. I need to pick it up. I've got so many first book in a series or like new authors on my shelves I need to read. Like
the audio books are great, but there's only audios for the first 2.
Do you know what I hate is that I constantly say things like I really need to pick that up. Literally constantly say that. I'm always like, I really need to pick that up, which is like my never-ending fucking list of things. Like I've got a mountain pile of books that I'm always like, I really need to pick that up.
Yeah, and then like something you're really excited for, it comes out, like the fact that I have Nolan in my hands and I haven't finished it is driving me mental. But I've got so many review copies that I'm so overwhelmed by them. I don't want to read Nolan alongside and not get, because like when I start reading Nolan, I got so engrossed, and I'm almost halfway through, and I was like, I haven't read any of the review copies I need to read. I was like, I need to put this down because I'm not going to read anything else if I pick this up. So I'm about halfway through, and I just want to read more. But yeah, until I get some of my review copies out the way and get it to a more manageable number. Yeah, so I will go back to Nolan because I was so excited for it.
I'm making sure I'm really strict with what I actually request because I don't want to neglect the books that I already own. And I tend to prefer backlist books anyway, just because I can binge the whole series.
I haven't been requesting. I mean, even like that one that's on my fucking shelf now, like the that Master of Jin thing. I didn't like request it. I just keep getting sent stuff, and like or emails being like, "Hi, do you want this?" And I'm like, "No,
Yeah,
no,
well,
I don't." I mean, like, thanks. I'll read it when I get to it, but I really can't put it on my list right now because I don't have time.
Well, I know Rebellion, when I got Northern Wrath, they started sending me unsolicited stuff. Like, I got The Angel of the Crows, and they sent me The Relentless Moon, which is book 3 in a series as well. So I ended up messaging the lady saying, thank you for adding me to the list, but please don't send me unsolicited copies because I'm very picky about what I read. And if you send me book 3, all I can do is say, here's a new release, and I can't read it because the first book is really hard to find.
But technically, unsolicited, you're not obligated to read
No,
it. But
you're
it's good of you to tell them.
But it still adds to my TBR.
Yeah.
So I was like,
good for
please
you
don't
to tell
send me
them
unsolicited. I'd rather ask for it and actually read it and review it for you.
Because I know how angry.
The Crows was a hardback, like a finished edition hardback.
Because I know how angry I get when I see people getting unsolicited books, and like I know they don't read that genre or they don't read those kinds of books, and I'm just like, why are you getting these books? Because it's like it's going to the wrong people, and like I get that like they're just trying to put the books out there, but the people don't read it.
They don't care about that.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter if you read it.
They literally just want someone to hold it up.
Yeah, as long as there's a picture on the feed or someone holding it up in their story, it gets views, it gets interaction, and it gets spread wide, especially if that person's got thousands and thousands of followers. So it doesn't matter if they liked it or not. All they need to do is say, this is the synopsis and this is what it looks like. Someone else will find it, like, say, like, go on Google and go buy it. Like, they don't actually care if you read it. That's the problem.
Like, I know smaller publishing houses like Angry Robot and Rebellion and stuff, their review copies tend to be finished copies. Because also, Rebellion somehow won Indie Publisher of the Year, but they're owned by HarperCollins, so I don't get how that works.
I don't know.
Because when they send books, it comes from the HarperCollins depot, because it says it on it, because I was really confused the first time. I was like, why are HarperCollins...
We might share a warehouse in that with like a thingy warehouse, packaging warehouse with HarperCollins, though.
Yeah. There it is. I don't think they share it, but... because it's a smaller house and it's finished copies, they actually have to pay for it. So there's like an invoice in the thing that I get.
Yeah, I get that.
Rebellion.
I get that from I get that from people from like fucking Orbit and that as well, and Tor, the little invoice sheet.
Although I will say, Tor haven't had any kind of email lately. Like I've had a few, but for things I'm not interested in.
Yeah, same. I've had a few that I've like got like an email from them, and I'm like not that big on.
Yeah, because they did Empire's Ruin, and I was like, but it's going to be a UK copy. I want the US one, which I already pre-ordered. So I was like, no.
If I love it as much as I liked Emperor's Blades, I want both.
Yeah, I mean, I could tell you, but I don't have the originals of the...
had the artwork that's by the same artist who does the American covers, so I wonder if they're doing the same cover in both, because Tor tends to do that. They don't tend to have different covers. They tend to use the same one for both.
It'd be interesting to see.
I will tell you when my copy arrives.
Yeah. I still need to read House of Always, though. I'm behind on that. But I picked it up and I was like,
I've not read Shards of Earth yet, because I'm not in the mood for sci-fi.
No, and Mr. Tchaikovsky is quite like heavy sci-fi. Like it takes a lot of concentration in his books.
I read like 60 pages of it and it's really cool, but then I put it down because I'm like, I'm not in the mood for sci-fi, and if I read it when I'm not in the mood, it's going to impact my rating and stuff, because I just won't.
Yeah. So many books, so little time. Yeah, saying that, I need to pop off because I've got stuff that I'm behind. I need to read.
I need to go as well because I need a coffee and then I need to go get my kids.
I need a wee, but people also need to read the Anne McCaffrey books, the Dragon ones.
Oh yes,
the ones I like.
Yeah,
with my 1974 edition.
Yeah, I love my Dragonflight cover. Really cute.
They're a
Anywho,
mix of sci-fi and fantasy, which is really cool. I need to tidy up and put all of these books away. And I don't
Me
want to.
too.
I'm literally just surrounded by stacks.
This was fun.
anywho, yeah. See you later, ladies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.